Fellow Toastmasters, I'm Toastmaster. I announced a few weeks ago that I had a club blog under development as a pet project, and I'm planning to launch the blog by the end of this Toastmasters year, June 30th. You might wonder why something like this takes so much planning and why we can't just go ahead and launch the blog right now. And I've done a little bit of fact-finding that will shed some light on this, but first let me just say that anything worth doing is worth doing well. Part of what motivated me to do the research that I'm about to share with you is the simple fact that I've been somewhat unclear as to the exact role of a blog and how it helps the fulfillment of a Toastmasters Club's mission. And I'll just read the mission statement for you real quick here. The mission of a Toastmasters Club is to provide a mutually supportive and positive learning environment in which each individual member has the opportunity to develop oral communication and leadership skills, which in turn foster self-confidence and personal growth. So basically anything we do with a blog has to help us fulfill that mission, and it has to fulfill that mission in terms of what's important to you, the individual membership. So I've been giving a lot of thought to that over the past couple of months as I've been putting this together. And the first thing that I did was I decided to take a look at what some other Toastmasters clubs have done on their blogs. I started out by pulling some data from Google about Toastmasters related search terms in order to see what might be of interest to an online audience. And I found that the phrase Toastmasters speech gets about 8,100 searches per month in the US and over 14,000 searches per month worldwide. And the phrase Toastmasters Club gets an estimated 4,400 searches per month in the US and also over 14,000 searches worldwide per month. And one thing I found that it was unexpected was that Google gets a significant number of searches for speech projects by number. Just to name one example, the search term Toastmasters Speech 2 gets about 720 searches a month in the US. And there's other speech projects by number, so that was a little bit of a surprise. So as you can see, there are people out there actively looking for Toastmasters related topics on the internet every day. And what are they finding? Well, that's what I did the research to find out. I took a look at a total of 50 Toastmasters blogs, and just based on what came up on the search engine results. Out of the 50 blogs, only 12 have been updated since March 17th. Only 7 out of 50 have been updated since the beginning of April. 20 of the blogs have not been updated since October of 2010. 9 of them haven't been updated since 2009. 3 of them haven't been updated since 2008. And there was one blog I found that only has one post on it dating to March of 2007. So I also did find some excellent blogs, and there's one that actually had a couple of really good speeches on video. There were 5 that I found that had videos on them, and I didn't count for every single one. There was one blog that I found the date of the club's next meeting prominently displayed up in the upper right-hand corner of the blog, which I thought was a really good, excellent professional touch. And there were some other blogs that I saw announcements of their members' achievements. And there was one, for example, that had a video on the front page from a club in New Jersey announcing that their club had its first DTM award they were achieving, and the member was in the video, so I thought that was a very positive thing. And some other blogs had articles about speaking-related topics. There were some that had articles about table topics and other things along those lines. So here are some of the conclusions that I drew from the data that I found. One, like I said before, there's a big audience out there and they're interested in what we have to say. 2, leveraging the words Toastmasters in content posted online will get a bigger audience. As I found for myself when I put up the speech a couple of years ago, I have the one that started with the words Toastmasters speech that got 2,500 views on YouTube without me doing anything to promote it, like I've mentioned here before. 3, there's a huge untapped opportunity out there just waiting to be grabbed that nobody's really doing a whole lot to go after. A few clubs are, but most clubs are not. And 4, and this is the important part that kind of ties back to what I said in the beginning, it's easy for a blog to fall apart and fall off track if it doesn't really align with the true mission of the club and the members don't really fully buy into it. So I want you to take a moment to ask yourself one question. If you had the entire world's attention for 5 to 7 minutes, what would you have to say to the world? because that opportunity may be closer within your grasp than you may think it is, especially now with the power of the internet and blogs and everything else. You know, that opportunity is much more accessible to people like us than it would have been 10 years ago. Do you have a higher cause that you would like to impact? Even if you don't want to particularly become a celebrity, don't overlook the fact that a platform like the internet can get you noticed by people who can help you succeed on your life's overall journey. And by tapping into the power of your club as a whole, you can go farther than you would on your own. Creating a presence on the internet opens new doors and opportunities, and the club's blog can help to accelerate that process. So for the question and answer portion of this speech, I'd like for you to give a little bit of thought about how a club blog could help to get more value for you from your participation in Toastmasters. So with that part, I'm now going to conclude the formal prepared part of my speech, and I'm going to open the floor for the next 2 to 3 minutes for questions and answers, and if I could be timed separately for that part, please. So that's it. Any questions? Steve?
Well, I want to say that's a great speech. The question I know we've talked about is who's going to control the access to put things on there? Because if anybody's done a blog, you just can't copy things from Word.
Mm-hmm. No, that's a good question. So the question was who's going to control the access to who is able to post content? And the WordPress platform actually allows people to have moderated levels of access where you can actually submit a posting, but it then has to be approved by the webmaster before it's allowed to go live. Now, I actually have not checked into seeing if that capability has already been installed in the version of WordPress that we have, but I know it's not a difficult thing to do. So that would probably be the approach I would want to take on that, is to allow moderated levels of access eventually. And even initially, before we get to that point, I'm looking at volunteering to be the club's webmaster for the entire next year, so I wouldn't have a problem with saying, if you got something in Microsoft Word, send it to me, and I'll make sure that those formatting issues don't become a problem. But good question, thank you. Any other questions? Dan?
The statement you made about if you had 5 to 7 minutes to say something to the world, just wow, just blew my mind. The thought is just really compelling as far as the possibilities go. Recently, having attended a blog training class and also a blog talk radio class with Bev Mahone, I see a lot of potential and possibly, they talked about this, Mark Brosman and Billy Mahone yesterday in a training session about incorporating blog talk radio with the blog. And because we're all about improving our speech, I think that might be an element. And I'll just say right here now, I'll volunteer our Center for Excellence to be a hub or a place where we can put this together if we were to pursue it.
Yeah, that's a great comment. I had not actually thought about Blog Talk Radio as a potential platform, and that's one option for somebody who maybe doesn't want to necessarily get in front of the camera and put something out there visually, but wants to maybe take a step towards that. So yeah, that is something we can look into, definitely. Jessica?
I'm a newbie to this kind of stuff, so what is the difference between a website and a blog?
They're really, I mean...
It's the way you put the content up there.
Yeah, I would say if there's one main difference is a blog is expected to be updated on a regular basis. And the blog, you can see when the date of the last posting was, whereas a website it can basically just be a static piece of information that you just put there and leave there. So that's one of the critical aspects to any kind of a blog, is you got to think of where you're going to get the content to keep it updated and keep it fresh. Because one of the first things that I'll look at with any blog is when was the date of the last posting, and then after that I'll look at how frequently did they post before that. Because I've seen some blogs that had a posting last month or something like that, but then the last post before that was 6 months before it or something like that. So that's really the key difference. And it looks like we're about out of time here, so I'm going to wrap this up. But you'll be hearing from me, and there will be a press conference on our strategy for next year within the next few weeks, and I will look